am Dr. Seema Sachdeva. In this session, we will cover the management of cardiac arrest. That is basically a basic life support. So whenever the person has respiratory or circulatory arrest, there needs a swift and prompt action by rescue worker using basic life support skills. So here it comes a chain of survival which has been given by the American Heart Association, and this is a chain in which all the steps are interlinked. So we can't jump to the second or third step without covering the first step. These all steps are interlinked to provide a effective basic life support. If we give the quality CPR along with the defibrillation, we can save the life of the patient, and the chances increases by 40 to 60% if timely basic life support is given to the patient who has cardiac arrest. So this chain of survival, it has 5 links. The link 1 is for immediate recognition of cardiac arrest. As soon as the patient is collapsed, we have to recognize the patient is having the cardiac arrest by understanding the cardinal signs of cardiac arrest and activation of emergency response system. Because as soon as we will recognize the patient is in cardiac arrest, and we will activate or we will call for ambulance, and soon the emergency medical system, they will provide the ambulance, they will provide the medical care, and soon the patient can be shifted to hospital for the final management. And the link 2, it covers start early CPR. That basically covers CABD, that is chest compression, airway, rescue breaths and defibrillation. Link 3 for rapid defibrillation. Link 4, effective advanced life support. This is basically done within the hospital setting when the patient is in the hand of paramedics, expert and trained paramedics, and the patient reaches to the hospital. And the link 5 is integrated post-cardiac arrest care. Now the patient has received the BLS services and ACLS, and after cardiac arrest, what were the reversible causes we have to treat within the hospital, that cover the post-cardiac arrest care. Now coming to the link 1, that is immediate recognition of cardiac arrest and activation of emergency response system. So the step 1 in this first link is scene safety. So the very first thing which the rescuer has to know is the scene safety. First, the person has to think of his own safety, then he has to think of the safety of the victim. Because if the rescuer is not going to take care of his own safety, then he can also be a casualty. So the first thing is scene safety. First he has to think that the scene is safe to provide the basic life support. So as we can see in this picture, the patient is lying in the middle of the road in case of road traffic accident. So what rescuer has to do, he has to take the victims to the side of the road where he can start with the CPR. It's not like the middle of the road he is giving a CPR, and he can also be a casualty. In next incidents, like there is a fire in the building, the victim has to be safely evacuated from that fire area, and he should be on a safe place where the rescuer can give the basic life support. Same way for drowning, or if the patient is having the electrocution. So if the patient is having if it is a victim of electrocution, the person should be taken away from that electrical areas, away from the source, or that voltage or the electrical source has to be turned off before starting the basic life support. So the step 2 under link 1 only is primary assessment. Now the patient is on the safe side and the rescuer is ready to start their basic life support. The first thing the rescuer has to do is the primary assessment. Now for primary assessment, the rescuer will check the responsiveness of the patient. How he will check the responsiveness is, he will tap the victim's shoulder. He will just tap, as we can see in this picture, he or she will tap the victim's shoulder and he will shout. It's not he will slowly say, but he will shout, "Are you okay?" If the patient is responding, then give the recovery, then patient is okay. If the patient is not responding, then he will call for nearby help. Like the nearby person who can be there, he will tell them to call for the ambulance, or if nobody is there, then he can use his mobile phone and put it on the speaker, and he can call the ambulance by dialing 102. And there is one important thing to know, India has got its national medical emergency number, that is 112. Now, there are certain steps for calling for help. There should be some precise information, the key components, it has to be communicated while we are calling for help. So, what are these steps? First thing is, the person should confirm who is there on the other end. Like if I am calling for ambulance or the pre-hospital team, then I will tell that who I am. I am Miss So and so, and there is certain event, like if we are in IGNOU, then some person has collapsed at gate number 1 or gate number 2. We have to give the precise information, and that should be a very brief information, and we have to give the exact location where the casualty is there. How many victims are involved? It can be a single person, it can be multiple casualties. So this all information has to be given to the emergency response team, and how many victims are there, and team has to come with the ambulance, and there are certain requirements that has to be communicated, like the ambulance should be equipped with defibrillator, the oxygen supply, ambu, cervical collar and spinal board, and how much time the ambulance will take to reach to that location, so that till that time the rescuer can give the basic life support. So it is a closed loop communication. Once we have given this information, the rescuer should confirm that the person on the other hand, he has received this information. It's not like there should be some disturbance in the phone call. So the persons on the other end, they should say that we are reaching, the ambulance is coming within 5 or 10 minutes, until then you can continue with your first aid. So this is a closed loop communication. Even the rescuer also know that medical team has listened to his information and the ambulance is on the way. So coming to the step 3. Step 3 under link 1 only is recognition of cardiac arrest. Now primary assessment is done. We have informed the ambulance. The next thing is recognition of cardiac arrest, whether the patient is really having cardiac arrest or patient is just unresponsive, or sometimes patient is having only respiratory arrest, no cardiac arrest. So we have to assess the victim. The rescuer has to assess the victim for normal breathing and carotid pulse on the rescuer side within the 5 seconds. Just note, the pulse and breathing has to be checked within 5 seconds, but never more than 10 seconds. As we can see in this picture, the carotid pulse has to be checked. The carotid pulse is just, if we feel the trachea, it is just 2 centimeter or 2 finger away from the trachea, and we will feel a groove. In that groove, there is a carotid pulse, and the carotid pulse has to be checked on the rescuer sides only, and it has to be checked within 5 seconds. Suppose the rescuer is not having any watch. How we will calculate the 5 seconds? So the best way to calculate the 5 seconds is just count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004 and 1005. Why 1001? Because saying 1001 takes 1 second. So this is the best way to calculate the 5 seconds. So here there can be 3 things. The patient who is unresponsive, the patient coming to the breathing part. Breathing is, the patient can have breathing, patient may not have breathing. If patient is having breathing, fine. Then check for his carotid pulse. Now, if suppose the patient is having breathing also, carotid pulse also, just patient is unconscious. We have already given the information and the ambulance is on the way. So, the best thing is, the patient has to be shifted to the recovery position, so that patient does not aspirate his own secretion. And the important thing is, we have to reassess the patient after every 2 minutes for his pulse and breathing. Now there is another condition. Suppose patient is not breathing, but patient is having the carotid pulse. So now pulse is there, but respiration is not there. So this is the condition when the patient is having just respiratory arrest. Just note, patient is having pulse but no breathing, so patient is having respiratory arrest. So to overcome that, we will give the rescue breaths. So these rescue breaths has to be given, like after every 5 to 6 seconds, we will give 1 rescue breath, and for total 1 minute, around 10 to 12 breaths per minute. There is another condition when breathing is not there and pulse is also not there. The rescuer has checked the breathing as well as the pulse, so these both things are absent and patient is unresponsive, which is a cardinal sign of cardiac arrest. Now this patient is having cardiac arrest, so the best thing to go for is CPR. CPR is CABD. So if the patient is having normal pulse also and breathing also, we will give the recovery position to the patient. As you can see in this slide, we will turn the hand of the patient and then we will turn the knee and we will turn the patient to one side, and so that patient does not aspirate the secretions. So this is the condition when the patient is having no respiration but pulse is present. So we have already informed the emergency response system and opened the airway to provide the rescue breathings. And the important thing is check the pulse every 2 minutes. Now rescue breaths if pulse is present and no respiration. Here, as we have discussed, 1 breath over 1 second. and give one breath after every 5 to 6 seconds. So this is the interval of giving the rescue breaths if respiratory arrest is there. So total are 10 to 12 breaths per minute. So the sequence is CABD. So the chest compression is how to give the chest compression. C for chest compression. So here position yourself to the victim sides. Make sure the patient is lying on the firm surface and keep the patient in one alignment. Open the chest and put the heel of the one hand on the lower half of the sternum. Put the heel of second hand on the top of the first and interlace the fingers. Straighten your arms. Just make sure the elbows should not be flexed. And the most important thing is give 30 chest compression in each cycle followed by 2 rescue breaths. So the ratio should be 30:2. And the total chest compression per minute should be 100 to 120 chest compression per minute. So the patient, why we are giving the chest compression, the patient victim's chest should be at least 5 centimeters should be compressed with each chest compression. And after each compression, allow the chest to recoil so that heart can pump and there is a good circulation to the coronary arteries. So as we can see in this picture, this is the exact way of putting the hands over the chest to give the chest compressions. Step 2 is opening the airway. So there are 2 methods of opening the airway. So before giving the rescue breaths, we have to open the airway. That is A for airway. So how we have to open the airway? That is head tilt and chin lift and jaw thrust maneuver. Head tilt and chin lift we usually do for all the victims, but jaw thrust usually done if there are chances of cervical injuries, like in case of road traffic accident patients. So here we don't do the head tilt and chin lift because further cervical injuries can be there, which are very harmful for the patient. So head tilt and chin lift, how we will do that? In head tilt and chin lift, we will place the one hand on the patient forehead and push with your palm to tilt the head back. So the head is tilted back and the jaw is pushed upward, and lift the jaw to bring the chin forward. In jaw thrust, we don't have to do the head tilting. It's quite important to note we don't have to do the head tilting because cervical injuries can be there and it can aggravate if it's already cervical injuries are there. So place the hands on each side of victim head and we have to support the jaw in such a way that all 3 fingers, they should push the mandibles in upward position and they will support the jaw. So the key point is airway should be cleared first if there are secretions. Suppose the patient may have blood, patient may have secretion, vomiters. So before supporting the airway, the secretions has to be cleaned. The third step is rescue breaths. So CA, now we'll cover the B for rescue breaths. So 2 rescue breaths after 30 chest compression. We have given the 30 chest compression in C. Now we will give the 2 rescue breaths. So 1 breath over 1 second to make the chest rise. So to give rescue breaths, we have 3 methods like mouth to mouth method, mouth to nose method, mouth to pocket mask or bag mask. So mouth to mouth respiration, as we can see in this picture here, the head tilt is done, jaw support is done. Now the nose is pinched because we do have to give the mouth to mouth respiration. We will pinch the nose with the thumb and index finger and the mouth is sealed, in which the person has to give the rescue breath. And with every rescue breath, allow the chest to rise. And in case if the chest is not rising, don't waste the time, start with the chest compression. So in mouth to nose breathing, as we can see in this picture, mouth to nose breathing here, seal the patient mouth because we have to give the mouth to nose breathing. Seal the patient mouth by pressing the chin upwards, breathe directly into the patient nose and give 2 rescue breaths. Deliver 1 breath over 1 second and open the person mouth between the breaths to let the air out. The second method is mouth to pocket mask. Here no mouth to mouth breathing, but we have a pocket mask or we have this mask available, and the pocket mask is one-way valve which divert the exhaled air, blood and body fluids away from the rescuer. So the person is not directly contact with the blood or vomiters of the victim. So the steps here are open the airway and place the pocket mask on the victim's face using the bridge of the nose as a guide, like which is the tip of the mask that should be kept on the bridge of the nose. And seal the mask so that whatever rescue breaths are being given, that doesn't escape from that mask. It has to be finely sealed on the victim's face, covering the nose, mouth and chin. It should not go beyond the chin. And the most important thing is make a C and E technique. As we can see in this picture, here the C technique is for holding the mask using the thumb and index finger, and E is other three fingers making a E. That is to support and uplift the jaw, because we have to open the airway also. So the next technique is using the bag and mask device. So here we have a pocket mask which is attached to a filter, and then it is attached to a EMPC bag. EMPC bag is self-inflating bag. It gives a positive pressure ventilation. So which is further attached to the reservoir and oxygen source. So here position yourself on the victim sides and put a pocket mask on the patient's face and make a E and C technique as we have seen, and attach the EMPC and give 2 breaths. Give 1 breath over 1 second. How we will count that 1 breath? We will say 1001, because saying that 1001 it takes 1 second, and we will squeeze the bag by giving 1 breath over 1 second. Now coming to the defibrillation. So the third part is defibrillation, that is automated external defibrillator. So this is to give the shock to the patient. So the shock is given only in case of 2 shockable rhythms, that is pulseless ventricular tachycardia and ventricular fibrillation. So what is the action of this defibrillator? It will stun the heart muscles. It will give the current to that heart muscle, and they will start their electrical activities if it is not beating. So the 2 shockable rhythms are pulseless ventricular tachycardia and ventricular fibrillation. So the steps is we have to attach the AED cables on the patient chest. So the placement of the cables is like one pad has to be put on upper right chest just above the right nipple and just below the collarbone, and the second is put on the left side of the chest just below the left breast area. Now we have to clear the patient, because the defibrillator has to analyze the rhythm, whether it is shockable rhythm or not shockable rhythm, because the current has to be given, the 200 joule has to be passed only in case of shockable rhythm, and make sure no one is touching the patient at this time. AED will prompt that it is a shockable rhythm. If shock advised, turn the shock button, make sure no one is touching the patient, because the other person can also get the current if other persons, the rescuers, are also touching the patient. And we have to stop the CPR during this interval of time. And after this, again start with the CPR and check the pulse every 2 minutes or 5 cycles of CPR. So AED, it increases the chances of survival to more than 50%. That's why as soon as the defibrillator is available, stop the CPR, look for shockable rhythm. If it is saying shockable rhythm, give the current to the patient. That's why defibrillator increases the chances of survival even with the quality CPR. So rescuers should be immediately start with the chest compression and use the AED as soon as it is available. The link 4 is effective advanced cardiac life support. So now the trained person has come to the victim area and they will shift the patient in the ambulance. In the ambulance also the CPR has to be continued if the patient is having the no pulse, no breathing. And the trained and well equipped, they will start with their administration of drugs like ACLS will start, and with the advanced airway. Now coming to the link 5, that is the last link in American Heart Association chain of survival, that is integrated post cardiac arrest. Now patient is revived, patient is out of that, now the BLS part is over. So now what we have to think? Why the patient got cardiac arrest? We have to think for the reversible causes. Now we have to treat that. If we will not treat that, patient can again go into the cardiac arrest. So the key component is targeted temperature management. The temperature has to be maintained to 32 to 36 degree temperature. Hemodynamic monitoring. Here the BP has to be more than 90 mmHg and the mean arterial pressure has to be 65 mmHg. And immediate coronary reperfusion with the percutaneous coronary intervention. We will do the stenting, because if there is thrombosis is the case, ischemic heart disease is the case, we will start with the percutaneous coronary interventions and glycemic control and neurological control. So when it is a time to stop the CPR, when there are clear signs of spontaneous circulation, patient is awake, breathing is there, pulse is there. When after 30 minutes of quality CPR and there is no return of circulation. When AED is analyzing the rhythm and the trained persons are available. So the critical point is push hard, push fast with the chest compression of 100 to 120, allow the chest to recoil, no interruption, check the pulse every 2 minutes, call for help, do not press the both side of carotid pulse, seal the mask, never use head tilt and chin lift to open the airway in trauma patients, and maintain the ratio of 30:2, do not touch the patient during shock, and change the compressor every 5 cycles of CPR. We will just go for the video part. I'll show you the chest compression. one breath over 1 second to the patient. Now the third scenario is, if the patient has a habit to provide a chest compression on the lower half of the sternum, in the center of the chest, draw an imaginary line in the center of the nipples and keep the dominant hand on the lower half of the sternum. With the other hand, just putting the hand on the first hand, dominant hand, and interlacing the finger. The one has to sit like this, so that the shoulder and arms, it comes in one angle, and there should be no elbow flexion. So the sternum has to be pressed at least 5 centimeters. So the compression should start like this. I have kept my hands on the lower half of the sternum, pressing first, keeping the dominating hand, and then interlacing with the other hand, and then counting is start like this. There is no elbow flexion. The shoulder and arms, hands are in one line. So I'm just going to count like this, 30 compression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So this is the way. So this is how we have learned the basic life support, which is the foundation course for saving the life of the patient. So it covers how to recognize the cardiac arrest, how to start with the CPR, that covers the C, A, B, D, and shifting the patient to the definitive management so that patient can be revived. So this was all about the basic life support.